Hello, this is the section 5.1a lesson. In this section we're going to start talking about multiplying fractions. Now when we multiply fractions there's maybe three questions we might ask ourselves. Number one, how do we multiply fractions? Now you may remember the algorithm from elementary school or middle school. It's a fairly simple algorithm, so the how isn't too difficult. The second question we might ask ourselves is why does this method work? Why do we multiply fractions the way that we do? That's going to be the main, or answering this question is going to be the main point of this lesson. Now, a third question we might ask ourselves is, when do we multiply fractions? Or maybe another way of asking it is how do I know to solve a word problem by multiplying fractions? Now, in this lesson, we're going to focus on answering the first two questions. In section 5.1b, we're going to talk about the last question, identifying when do we multiply fractions. So, to multiply fractions, let's review a few ideas here. First of all is the definition of a fraction. As always, a fraction looks like this: a over b. The numerator is the number of pieces selected. The denominator is the number of pieces in the whole. The other idea we want to review is the meaning of multiplication. Multiplication means we take a number of groups times the number of items in a group, and that's going to give us our total number of items. Now, back in chapter 3, when we first started talking about multiplication, we said to solve a multiplication problem, ask yourselves the following four questions. What's an item? What's a group? How many groups do we have? And how many items are in a group? So we're going to ask those questions and answer them to help set up our multiplication problems in this section as well. Now, this first problem doesn't have anything to do with fractions. We're just going to use it as a kind of a refresher of a review of how to set up a multiplication problem. So it says if we buy 5 bags of apples with 3 apples in each bag, then how many apples did we buy? So let's set this up. This looks like a multiplication problem. Let's just kind of verify that. Part A, what's an item? Well, to determine what an item is, we look at the question. The question is how many apples did we buy? So that's an item. Okay. Second question, what's a group? Well, we see that we've got these bags of apples, and so that's a group. Third question, how many groups do we have? Well, it says we have 5 bags. And then how many items are in a group? Well, 3 apples are in each bag, so 3. And so that means that our solution is going to be 5 times 3. And we know how to do that arithmetic, and that's 15. So there's how we set up a simple multiplication problem. Our second example here does have to do with fractions. It says a pitcher contains 4 cups of waters. If you drink half of the pitcher, how many cups of water did you drink? So let's try to set this up. The first question is, what is an item? Well, we look at the question. It says, how many cups of water did you drink? So an item here is a cup of water. Part B, what is a group? Well, it says that we've got this pitcher here, and so that's our group. Now, question C says, how many groups do we have? Now, you might be tempted to say, well, we've got just one pitcher, but we're not doing something with all of that pitcher. We're only dealing with a half of the pitcher. That's how much we drink, and we're interested in how many cups did we drink. So we didn't drink a full group, we only drank half of a group. So how many groups do we have? Well, this is a half. And then how many items are in a group? Well, a group is a pitcher, and so a pitcher consists of 4 cups. So we have 4 items in a group. So putting this all together, we see that our answer is going to be 1/2 times 4. We have half of a group. Each group consists of 4 items. And so there's our solution in terms of multiplication. Okay, so now the question is just exactly what does this equal? Well, let's draw a picture to try to reason through what this equals. So our pitcher consists of 4 cups of water. So let's draw a picture here of 4 cups. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each of these little boxes represents 1 cup of water. And so altogether this is my pitcher, or this is my group. Okay. Now it says that we're going to drink half of that pitcher. So we ask ourselves, what does half mean? Well, half means that we're going to take our group here, or our whole, and break it up into 2 equal pieces. So let's say we break it up into one piece like that, and another piece like that. So each one of those pieces is a half of a cup of water. So we're going to drink one of those pieces, so let's just say we drink this piece right here. Well, that piece consists of 2 cups of water, and so 1/2 times 4 is equal to 2. So there's my answer. 1/2 times 4 equals 2. So we did that, we came to that answer by just using the definition of fractions, the definition of multiplication, and just reasoning through it. Now let's do another example involving fractions. It says Bob has a 1/4 cup measuring spoon. Bob fills the spoon with water and empties it into a bowl 3 times. How many cups of water did Bob put in the bowl? So let's go through our questions here. First question, what's an item? Well, the question says how many cups of water did we put in the bowl? So an item is a cup. And now what is a group? Well, a group here is our measuring spoon. And then how many groups do we have? Well, it says that we filled the spoon and emptied it 3 times. So we have 3 spoons, or 3 groups of water, or 3 spoons that we're doing something with. And the last question, how many items are in a group? So how many cups of water are in a spoon? Well, it says 1/4 of a cup. So putting this all together, the answer is going to be 3 times 1/4. The next question is, well, just what number is 3 times 1/4? Well, let's try to reason through this. And so let's draw a picture of a 1/4. So here's our whole, or our item, which is a cup. And then it says that we've got 1/4 of a cup. 1, 2, 3. So let's draw a picture of a 1/4 of a cup. So that right there is a 1/4 of a cup. So that right there we could think of as a picture of our measuring spoon. So that piece right there is one measuring spoon full of water. And so now we're going to fill that spoon up 3 times and empty it in the bowl. So in other words, we're going to have 3 of those pieces. So there's there's 1, 2, 3 measuring spoons, and so we see all together that we took our item here, our cup, we divide it up into 4 pieces. In the end, we have 3 of those pieces, and so our answer here is 3/4. So there's our answer. 3 times 1/4 equals 3/4. So let's do another example involving some fractions here. I think the problems are getting a little bit more complicated. It says Jane has a 1/4 cup measuring spoon. Jane empties a 1/4 of the spoon into an empty bowl. How many cups of water did Jane put into the bowl? And so let's answer our question here. What's an item? Well, it says how many cups of water. So an item is a cup. What's a group? Well, again, we've got these measuring spoons, so that's a spoon. So how many groups do we have? Or maybe a better way of asking this question is how many groups are we doing something with? Well, it says that we empty a 1/4 of the spoon into an empty bowl. So we do something with a 1/4 of that group. And the last question, how many items are in a group? Well, it says that's a 1/2 cup measuring spoon, and so we have a 1/2 of an item in a group. So our answer is going to be 1/4 times 1/2. So now the next question is, well, just what number is 1/4 times 1/2? Well, let's draw a picture here to try to reason through this. So let's draw a picture of our whole, or an item, which is a cup. And then we've got a half of a cup that's in our measuring spoon. So that piece right there represents our half cup measuring spoon. And now we're going to empty a quarter of that spoon into the empty bowl. So quarter means that we're going to divide things up into 4 pieces, and then we're going to select one of those pieces. So this piece right here is what we're going to put into the bowl. And so in the end we see that our whole consists of 4 and then 8 pieces. We've selected one of those pieces, and so our answer is going to be 1/8 of a cup. There's our units there. So there's our answer. 1/4 times 1/2 equals 1/8. Well, let's look at this problem again, and we're going to redraw our picture, and we're going to make an observation about our picture to try to come up with our algorithm for multiplying fractions. So our solution to this problem was 1/4 times 1/2. And our picture looked like this. Right, we took our whole here, which was a box representing 1 cup. We divided that into 2 equal pieces. We selected one of those pieces, that was our 1/2. And then we broke this up into 4 equal pieces, and we selected one of those pieces, which was right there, and so our answer was 1/8. But let's take a step back and look at our picture here. Specifically, let's look at the total number of pieces in the whole. Well, this bullet point down here, we mentioned that the whole consists of 4 groups of 2 pieces. Right, we've got like a column here. Think of that as a group, another column, 4 columns. Each one of those columns consists of 2 pieces. And so in our fraction here, in our answer, the denominator is 4 groups of 2 pieces. So 4 times 2. And then the numerator is just 1. And that's 1 because we just selected one of those pieces. And so we see that here in our product, the denominator is just the product of these denominators over here. So we're starting to see our algorithm for multiplying fractions. In our product here, we're going to multiply the denominators from the original fractions. So let's make another observation about this problem and a simpler way of stating the problem. So the problem was Jane had a half cup measuring spoon. Jane empties a quarter of the spoon in an empty bowl. How many cups of water did Jane put into the bowl? So our solution was a quarter times 1/2. Now a simpler way to state this problem is to simply say, what is a quarter of a half cup of water? All this question right here is asking the same thing as what we had up there. It's just doing it in simpler terms, in fewer terms. What is a quarter of a half of a cup? Okay. Well, let's ask a similar question using different numbers. So the question here is, what is 2/7 of 3/4 of a cup? So this is the same problem as what we just did, just with different numbers. And so the solution here, using the reasoning from our last problem, the solution is going to be 2/7 times 3/4. And so let's try to reason through what this answer is going to be. So let's draw a box here to represent our whole, which is 1 cup. And then we start off with 3/4 of a cup. And so let's draw some horizontal lines here. And then we're going to have 3 of those pieces. So that right there is 3/4 of a cup of water. Now it says that we want 2/7 of that cup, or of that 3/4. And so let's divide this up into 7 pieces by drawing 6 vertical lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that we've divided up into 7 pieces. And then it says that we're going to select 2 of those pieces because we're selecting 2/7. And so we're going to select 2 pieces here. Let's say we select this piece and this piece right here. And so let's figure out our answer here. So in our whole here, we have got 4 rows and 7 columns, so we've got a total of 4 times 7, which is 28 pieces. And then in the end, we selected 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those pieces, and so that's going to be our numerator, which is 6. So there's our answer. 2/7 times 3/4 is 6/28. Now we could simplify that fraction, but we're not going to worry about that. So let's take a look at that picture that we just drew and make some observations. So here's the steps that we just drew. So we started off with our cup of water. We divided that into 4 pieces. We selected 3 of those pieces, and then we divided those into 7 smaller pieces, or 7 columns like this, and we selected 2 of those columns. And so in the end, let's make some observations here. First observation is that the whole consists of 7 groups of 4 pieces, or stated another way, that we've got 7 columns, and each one of those columns consists of 4 rows. And so in our product here, the denominator is going to be 7 times 4, because in the end we had 7 groups of 4 pieces. Second observation is that in the end we selected 2 groups of 3 pieces. Right? And our fraction said we're going to select 2. We divided that everything up into 7 pieces, or 7 columns, then we selected 2 of those columns. And so we selected 2 columns, and each one of those columns consisted of only 3 shaded pieces. And so our numerator here is going to be 2 times 3. And so now we can do that arithmetic. We get the same arithmetic, or same answer as what we just did. Notice what we did here. To multiply these 2 fractions, in the end we simply multiplied the numerators, 2 and 3. We multiplied the denominators, 7 and 4, and we're all done. So let's summarize this example. In general, to multiply fractions, we simply multiply the numerators, a times c, multiply the denominators, b times d, and we're all done. So that's the algorithm for how to multiply fractions. Our previous examples justifies why that algorithm works. So that's it for the section 5.1a lesson. Your assignment for next class is to read section 5.1 from the textbook.